Wel, mor am I, Edmund.
Mor am I, Adrian.
As Gistaw.
Oh, bravo.
Began Taruk,
Oh,
ski.
Taruk, as ski. Yeah, Remy Guldas Taibi Raya.
Oh, my lieu, fear by. In the Zach.
Hanelmi.
Hanelmi ski ag.
Hanelmi ski ag. As Hanelmi Skurish.
Well, Shen fear by. In the Zach. Guramaid. Cheers, Edmund. We'll carry on in Burl in English for a little while now. Fear by. Cheers, yeah. I mean, just thanks for talking to me today. I was just interested in asking you in your role within the, the museum about the importance of the language in particular, really, as a sort of marker identity, not just for the museum but also the island. Is it in your time here? Do you think it's something that the museum can use to as part of its identifier?
I do think it's very, very important. I remember when I first arrived almost 2 years ago, as the new guardian of Manx national heritage, I asked a number of people, including you, what was the national heritage of the island? How would you identify it? And if it's a building, it's easy. If it's a written book in the archive, that was more straightforward. But the identity of the island is more complex than that. And it's clear to me quite soon that language is a fundamental part of that identity. Whether you recognise it or you don't, I mean, and even those people who shy against it are recognising that it's there as an issue, but they're frightened of it or deciding it's not for them. But they know it's there, and those people who are new Manx, as it were, if you could use that term, coming in and saying, actually, this is something distinctive and special about the island. That language is a key part of it.
It's difficult, that intangible marker of identity. I know it's always, even from my point of view, that it's difficult to get hold of in a way. And you're right, some people are maybe slightly intimidated by it for whatever reason. But certainly from the work we do, and very keen to sort of ensuring that language is available to everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're born and brought up. If you want to make the Isle of Man part of your home, and this is where you want to make your life, really, I think it's good that we try and show you, the language is, it's relevant to you.
It is relevant. I think it's an important courtesy as well. We make sure that our front of house teams welcome people in Manx. The first words people should hear when they arrive at one of our sites should be in Manx. And I think that's respect for the heritage and respect for the traditions, of the people whose stories we're telling. And that's very important.
But as a marker of I hate to use the word brand, but as a sort of marker of identity of the Isle of Man, do you think it's something maybe more businesses, organisations, individuals could use to sort of look, say, this is the Isle of Man, it's not the Isle of Wight, it's not Jersey, it's not Guernsey, we have our own.
I think there's respect and courtesy and formality. I think if you are going to stand up in front of an audience and welcome them to the island, to a conference, to a public event, that should be part of the formality. I suppose people have stopped wearing Manx tweed for special occasions anymore. But if you're Scots, then the kilt is an important part of the national dress. And if you're Manx or you're in the island, surely the greeting in Manx is part of what identifies that event as a formal. This is a formal Manx event, therefore we greet people in Manx. I don't have a problem with that. They may be the only words of the evening, but it's the recognition and the respect. I think it's important.
No, I'd agree. I'd like more people to use that as just saying, look, welcome to the Isle of Man, and this is part of our cultural heritage, and hopefully it'll, maybe even in the time, you've done a very good job in learning some Manx in the short time you've been here, really. So it is possible to use the language and learn it and start to communicate more than just the Fastamai and Moramai and stuff. That's possible. It takes effort, but there's more going on.
But a crib sheet with the basics, welcome, good morning, good evening. And there's no excuse in a sense for not having some of those ready and available.
And I know in the Eye Museum as well, you've started to include more signage in Manx as well. Is that something you'll continue?
I think that was an experiment, really. It's the first new building we've done for a while. And it worked. I suppose we had to ask ourselves the question: what percentage of our users would see that, yes, that was toilet, that was stairs.
Yeah.
And the answer is, it's a growing percentage.
Mm.
We've chosen, I think, in a lot of our orientation, our signage, to use Manx for headlines. But the work of the Bunskull and some of the adult learners means that there's a growing community for whom that is okay, that's natural.
Yeah.
And you've only got to hear sometimes a school class from the Bunskull running around the museum, and you realise, yeah, actually they're speaking in Manx. So if the sign was in Manx, that would be fine.
Yeah.
Because there are a growing number of people who can communicate in this language if they so choose. And I think that's different for us than, for example, in the early attempts in Wales. There were some horrible galleries in some Welsh museums which were completely bilingual, even down to the most obscure geological or archaeological terms, that the chances of anyone actually knowing the Welsh word for, pre-Cambrian sandstone or whatever it is.
Whatever that means in English.
It was a silly attempt
Yeah.
at bilingualism,
Yeah.
which almost could doom to failure. But in terms of the basic concepts of communication, there's a lot more that's available now than has been in the past. And I think we need to recognise that.
Yeah, and also I think it's about, where organisations and companies about trying to use Manx in a way that is appropriate for them. So, we're fairly, certainly with the work I do for the Manx Heritage, I'm fairly relaxed about how people use the language. Just use it, and, and it's about being part of the Isle of Man. So cheers for all the work you've done in regards to the museum, and hopefully continue to do over the next few years. So
you're welcome. I hope the Eye Museum gives us a lot of opportunities to make this available in digital form, and we've really only scratched the surface. I think of how this is going to be used, and that means we should be able to hear the traditional Manx speakers a lot more in digital form.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to that.
So it should be great.
Yeah. Good night.
Right, you're welcome.